The old Floyd Y in different places, but that was always good.
Well, I've had a friend from town that moved to Wisconsin, and he says every Friday in Wisconsin there's always a fish fry. He says that's one thing that Charles's lacking.
See it right there for them.
Call the meeting to order. Do we have any citizens or public comments? Hearing none, welcome everybody. Do we have any comments regarding the agenda?
Move to approve.
Wait.
Nope. I have an amendment to the agenda, Mayor. We're looking at actually amending number 9 to add a public hearing for the development agreement between the city and Cambrex, and to hold that public hearing tonight. And I know that sounds a little strange to be adding a public hearing the night of a meeting, but it is something we had on the agenda at one point Friday. We pulled it from the agenda because we didn't think we had the correct amount published in the newspaper. We came to find that we did have the correct amount published in the newspaper. So bond counsel has suggested that we go ahead and add that to the agenda tonight because we have published it in the newspaper. And that's, that supersedes a 24-hour posting notice. So, we've said that we're going to have a public hearing tonight to consider the urban renewal amendment and development agreement with Cambrex. So, what I'd like you to do is add that public hearing and resolution 11817 to the meeting under 9A tonight.
And you have that copy of that resolution in front of you?
And with that, that makes 10F no longer necessary. So then we can remove 10F, which would be setting date of public hearing on the Cambrex development.
And do we have anything to comment on regarding 11217?
So therefore, 11217 is also, that resolution has been modified because on number 10E, on 11217, that was setting date of public hearing for urban renewal plan amendment. That was going to be for both Cambrex and Zoetis. But since we're doing the Cambrex one tonight, which we've already published for, we no longer need to do it together with Zoetis. We were going to start over again and basically set a public hearing for both those items. But we've already set it for Cambrex. We can go ahead and act on it tonight. So we've amended resolution 11217. It only has reference in it to the potential Zoetis project. So that one, the line, the description, none of that changes, but the actual resolution of itself now just relates to Zoetis.
Okay, and so what I need at this point is a motion to amend the agenda for those 3 specific items that just were detailed by the city administrator. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a lot, I understand.
I so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye. Okay, the amended is approved. Now can we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Excuse me. Well, Yeager. I missed one, sorry. I probably should. Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
The agenda as amended is approved. Consideration of approval of the minutes of the September 25 and October 2 meetings. Discussion.
So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Okay, the minutes of the September 25 and October 2 meetings are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the consent calendar?
So move, Your Honor. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager. Friesman.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved as submitted. Business of the mayor. We have a couple of appointments, well, one appointment this evening. There are actually 2 vacancies, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and at this point, I've visited with several people submitted some materials. I am at this point proposing Roy Swickerath as to replace Bethany Coyce regarding her term, which would expire January 1, 2019. She has visited with me and has not been able to attend meetings due to a variety of different conflicts. And so I think everybody's aware of Roy Swickerath's experience in this particular area, having served with the fire department and also as Floyd County supervisor. He's pretty well versed in all different aspects of things that might come before planning and zoning. So I would submit that name for that particular position.
I'll move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Okay, the appointment of Roy Swickerath is approved. Next is 9A, which is, and I'm going to be hesitating a little bit as we go through these things since we just received some of the materials. This is a public hearing, the proposed development agreement with Cambrex Corporation. And open the hearing. Do we have an affidavit of publication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do we have any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Are there any oral comments or objections?
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Okay, the hearing's closed. Consideration of Resolution 118-17, approving development agreement with Cambrex Corporation, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to be the payment of the agreement, provided for in the agreement. Discussion.
Yeah, this is in what we've discussed this at a previous meeting, but this is in regard to Cambrex's expansion. They're doing a $27 million expansion, they're adding about 29 jobs. This is in the Southwest Bypass urban renewal area. The Southwest Bypass Board met a few weeks ago and reviewed this and made recommendation to approve this rebate amount. We're looking at a rebate that would, so over the course of 9 years, would be an amount not to exceed $170,000. And that is basically the amount that comes out in our matrix as far as capital investment, valuation, increased number of jobs added, and wage is all factored into that. So this resolution would allow us to move forward with setting up that development agreement.
Other questions or discussion?
The Southwest TIF Board looked at this pretty good, and it's a very positive for the community. The TIF can handle it very well, and they've been a very good corporate citizen, and we, the TIF Board, highly recommend it.
Other discussion?
I would so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Resolution 118-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 108-17, approving extension of current contract for solid waste collection with General Sanitation until April 1, 2018. Discussion.
Yeah. At our last workshop, we talked about the move, renewal of our waste and recycling contract for residential properties. And with the intent later on the agenda here to consider a new contract with Genros that will go effective April 1st, 2018. We want to make sure we're operating under a current contract. So what we're doing here is we're extending that current contract that we've been operating under to effectively extend the length of that contract to have that run until the end of March 2018, so March 31st, 2018. So this extends the existing garbage and recycling contract that we have with Genros until we adopt and start the new program.
Other questions or discussion?
Since I was one that thought it'd be a good idea if we extended it, I'll so move.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Resolution 108-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 109-17 approving increase in base payment for solid waste collection agreement with General Sanitation. Discussion.
We talked about this as well at our last council workshop. Alan Powell from Genro had made a request to increase the base rate from $6.45 to $7.15 to be effective immediately. This change is an increase of 70 cents, and this is what was going to be the change in the contract if we stayed with a bag program. That would have been effective immediately. But since we're not going to be doing the bag program, we're going to be doing the tote program in April. Alan has requested this increase at this point. And Alan's here and he can answer any questions. But basically, you know, there hasn't been a change in that reimbursement amount since 2008, I believe, as well as there's going to be a pretty sizable capital expense coming up here with buying totes and equipment. So this will help Genros with offset that initial upfront cost of getting totes and whatnot, so we can get that program up and running here by April. So those are the main reasons behind requesting the increase now, and that increase is, like I said, what we had talked about if we were going to stay with the bag program. We're going to be staying with it, but only until April. So,
Questions and discussion.
And if I remember correctly, had the bin situation not come up, this would have taken effect this spring, actually. We were looking at changing that fee back in around March or April of this
really
year.
were. Yeah, because we were moving down the path of renewing under the current bag and tote system, and then when the idea of a wheeled tote program came along, we actually we stopped and took a look at that and ultimately decided to go that direction, or at least we'll find out here shortly if we decide to go that direction.
So we've actually had 6 months of not having that fee. I mean, initially part of the discussion had gone of, well, why can't you just wait a few more months until the new contract? But actually this was supposed to have been taking effect already, but then we kind of mutually kind of slowed down and talked to Alan on this other process, and so the community's had 6 months of not paying the extra fee already. So I mean,
it's a good point. Yeah.
Other questions or discussion?
Need a motion on that? I'll move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 109-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 110-17 approving a new agreement for residential solid waste collection and residential recyclable waste collection and treatment, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the city of Charles City, Iowa, to be effective April 1, 2018. Discussion.
Well, this would be it. This is what we've been talking about for quite a while. We've had about at least 5 discussions during council meeting workshops on the idea of switching from a bagged garbage program to a wheeled tote program, and also to change the tote the tote boxes on recycling to a wheeled tote system for that as well. Basically what this does is it provides the opportunity to select between a 35-gallon, 65-gallon, and 95-gallon trash container that will come with a 65-gallon recycling tote as the standard size. They're owned by the hauler, so there's no upfront cost to any of the property, any of the citizens or users. It'll just be a monthly fee based on that size of trash container. So we're looking at weekly garbage pickup. Recycling would be picked up semi-weekly or every other week. And the pricing that we're looking at would be for a 35-gallon container would be $12 a month. 65-gallon would be $15 a month. And the 95-gallon container would be $18 a month. The orange bags that we currently use now would not be needed. You would just use standard garbage bags to put in the wheeled totes. The only time that you would use the orange bags were if you have garbage in excess of what would fit inside your container. You could then use those garbage bags to put out in addition to what you have in your garbage tote, where they would effectively dump your tote, put the orange bags in the container, and dump that again. So they'll still have a place, but we won't be using them near as much as we had been in the past. Start time is going to be now changed as early as 4 a.m. Before it was 5 a.m., so that's new. We're looking at the same pickup days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We're also putting language in the contract that basically says that the hauler can request an annual increase in the rate of what we reimburse. We didn't have anything specifically laid out in the contract before, but what this does is this allows Allen or Gendros or whomever to come in and request an annual increase each, on a year-to-year basis. And what that is it's based on the change in the consumer price index from the previous year. So that's what the council will use to base that change. Our spring cleanup program, which is a very important program, something that should not be taken lightly or forgotten about. The spring cleanup partnership stays in the contract. So the city works with Gendros to go around to do curbside pickup of anything short of white goods. So that's still in the contract. We're also looking at a 10-year contract. This is the same as what we had before, and it's even more applicable now in that there's going to be quite a bit of a capital going in up front from Gendros in the acquisition of totes, new trucks, and so on and so forth. So this contract will be good for 10 years. As we talked about, if approved tonight, it'll be tonight will be the effective date of approval, so that Gendro can then go ahead and order the totes and get those coming. It's anticipated to take 2 to 3 months to get those in. We're going to work with Gendros on getting the totes delivered to all the properties. So we're hoping that we could possibly start doing some pickup in March, but the effective date for everybody would be April 1st. So that's why we're going to make this contract effective that April 1st. At our last meeting, we talked about, at our last workshop, I should say, we talked about the price change in the 95-gallon, $17.50 to $18, which has been effectively included. Shredded paper, as far as that being prohibited as a recyclable item, that has been included. And then, of course, the change in the effective date. We've reviewed this with Allen and Gendros, and they're agreeable. And the city, we're happy with the way this has all come together, and we recommend the council consider approving.
I was just going to say that I know other communities around are using the totes and seem to get along quite well with it. I also appreciate all the time that staff and folks at Gendro, their Allen and stuff have put into trying to minimize the impact on people as far as the price of this, at least out of the chute here. And there's going to be some issues as far as where some people are going to take their totes and things like that are going to have to be worked through. But all in all, I think this is a good move or good step for all of us. It's just going to be a change, so there's going to be some adjustment and some fine tuning of this whole process. So.
And just to build off that, from a pricing standpoint, the vast majority are going to see a price decrease, a monthly decrease on what their expenses are. It's just the very lowest volume users, those that maybe only put out 2 15-gallon bags a month, are going to see a bit of an increase. And so that's where we've worked to lower the price of that smallest container, the 35-gallon. I mean, it was going to be $13 a month for that, and we're subsidizing that down to $12 based on increasing the price of the medium and the higher. So this will help offset that impact on the low volume users, as well as help promote additional recycling. And that's a nice piece of this too, is that everybody's got a 22-gallon recycling tub that they put out each week. Some people have more, but basically you've got 22 gallons a week to put out. Now you'll effectively have 33 gallons a week of space to put out. And so I'd like to think the ability for us to expand on our recycling capacity is there, because everybody's going to have more volume, and hopefully they're going to want to fill their containers. So we'll find out.
I would go along with Delane being one of the older people in the community with the lower volume, and I don't mean you're that old, Delane.
Thanks, Jerry.
We'll see a slight upward adjustment, but overall,
Back out of this.
I've heard input from Nashua to Des Moines about how nice the recycling is with the totes. And initially, I thought we was doing fine, and we were. But this is an improvement, and we don't, old people, not me, don't like change, but this looks like a positive change.
I would so move, Your Honor.
Second.
I see we have the hauler here. Do you have any comments you want to make? Okay.
What color is the new truck's going to be?
White.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 110-17 is approved, and the agreement is approved. Consideration of Resolution 111-17, approving letter of interest for community rating system. Discussion.
Well, FEMA and the National Flood Insurance Program they have a program called the Community Rating System, and that incentivizes proper flood plain management by offering discounts on flood insurance premiums for homeowners. Now, in July, representatives from FEMA and the Iowa floodplain section from the DNR, they came to town. They did a community assistance visit for us. They toured our floodplain and reviewed it for changes between 2010 and now. And there were a number of issues that they brought up to us, and we were able to successfully respond to those by offering them the documents they needed for those changes. So they've closed the community assistance visit, and they've invited us to join the community rating system. And there is no cost to the city to join this program. The program, it offers credits or points to the city. It's actually in 19 different activities, and these activities fall into areas of public information, mapping and regulations, flood damage reduction, and flood preparedness. And some of the activities are activities that we already do. For example, we have a floodplain ordinance. Any construction or changes to the floodplain, we require floodplain development permits, as well as we keep track of the FEMA maps, and we provide information to the public. Now, the first step to enroll into the program is for the city to send in a letter of approval, or letter of interest, sorry, signed by the mayor. Now, once the letter is received by FEMA, a CRS specialist will be assigned to the city, and they'll start the application process and review the city's activities and provide us credits that we can receive. So I'd recommend approval of Resolution 111-17 and authorization for the mayor to sign the letter of interest for joining the community rating system.
Further discussion or questions?
Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but the other night when we talked about the workshop, one of the advantages of this, if we are approved as a community, is this could help lessen the cost of some of the flood insurance that's required of a lot of our residents.
Correct. That's based on the points you get into different classes, and those classes relate to discounts that are offered to the homeowners for the policyholders.
We've got a fair amount of people all over town that are in the floodplain and are paying flood insurance, and if you don't have to, be thankful that you don't, because that's very expensive insurance. So anything we can do to help lessen some of that, I think is well worth our time.
Yes.
So essentially, the more prepared, whether through information or through programs that a community is, FEMA sees that as an incentive to the homeowners to say, hey, your community may have the possibility of preventing, or reducing some of your flood expenses, so we'll give you a credit on your flood insurance, kind of a, system like that, as far as the credits go.
Correct. The better job we do, it lessens their risk.
Exactly.
I'd so move.
And I would second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, consideration of Resolution 112-17, setting date for public hearing on urban renewal plan amendment. In this case, you'll recall the agenda was amended to restrict this to the Zoetis portion of that particular resolution.
Right.
Discussion.
Yeah, you have a new resolution before you tonight up there, 11217, and basically the only difference between the one in the packet and the one you have tonight is it's removed the Cambrix, the reference to Cambrix. So since we've already dealt with that, we pulled that out of here. So basically, this just revolves around the potential Zoetis project that we're looking at. Zoetis is considering expansion of their operating facilities, and they're looking at 2 locations, either Charles City, Iowa, or Lincoln, Nebraska. The project in Charles City is estimated to be about a $55 million project, which would include about $21.9 million in new construction, $6.9 million in remodeling, $25.2 million in machinery and equipment. They're seeking financial assistance from the state of Iowa and the city of Charles City. The state incentives, they're looking at total about $1.62 million, and they're broken down between various things. The local incentive, based on our matrix on the capital investment, the assessment that's going to be added, the number of jobs, and the wages, all get calculated in to come back and say that it qualifies for an 8-year, 90% tax rebate. That total tax rebate is estimated to be about $1.85 million. And basically, this project is going to, if it moves forward, will be happening in phases. So years 1 and 2, there'll be partial assessments coming on the tax roll. So it would be complete over the course of 3 years. And that's known by the state and IEDA, and they're planning on allowing a 3 to 4 year project on this. This state application is going to be considered by the Iowa Economic Development Authority at their October 20th board meeting. And so the IEDA would like to know what the local incentive is prior to them making their decision moving forward. At least that would be their preference. The Southwest Bypass TIF board met this past Friday, October 13th, and discussed the project, the tax rebate with city staff, ADC Director Tim Fox, and representatives from Zoetis. The Southwest Bypass board made recommendation to move and support the city council on this tax rebate as it was presented. To illustrate our intent that Zoetis and the city will be moving forward with a tax rebate agreement, we've included language within the setting of public hearing, basically, which is labeled out in Section 4, which is essentially the resolution of intent. This lays out what that the city's intent is on this project, and as you can see there in the text, it talks about how the city would consider an 8-year rebate that would be an amount not to exceed of $1.85 million. And what we're doing is we're including that in there so that as Zoetis moves forward with making their determination, they'll know that the city is committed to moving forward with this. We're not going to start our legal process with all of that until they make their final decision. That way they feel comfortable that we're making a commitment and we don't have to start the wheels in motion to update something if it's not needed. So we have representatives here from Zoetis tonight. Joseph Cristobanelli is here, Pam Stoops is here, among others. So if you have any questions or anything, they are certainly here to answer those. Or provide comment, I guess, if you'd like to.
Anybody wish to? You'd step up to the microphone. Thank you. Can we have your name, please?
Pam Stoops. I'm the site leader at Zoetis, and on behalf of myself and many of my leadership team that are here with me, we very much appreciate your support. We are a long-standing business within the community, and we very much value the community that we work with. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Pam. And I think we talked at the TIF meeting Friday morning that Zoetis has been a very good community player for us, very supportive. The employees of Zoetis have been very helpful in our community. So we like you being in our community. We greatly appreciate your expansion here. And we'll do whatever we can here to help implement that.
Very appreciative of your considering Charles City for that type of a financial investment. We hope that we end up being the site that you choose to develop. So I was just going to say, sorry, I did it the other morning too. I look at the numbers. It's about $2.5 million from the state instead of $1.6 million.
Oh.
That's part of it. So
Even better.
yeah. So this, I mean, the state is looking at this very seriously as well. So that's a pretty good sized investment from the state side of things. So.
Tim, you look like you want to say something.
You'd ask him
He's
twice,
giddy, you
huh?
can tell.
Ken Fox, Charles City Area Development. As a professional economic developer, I'm doubly blessed because I get to work with both Cambridge and Zoetis, both very well-managed companies, very professional companies, very thorough decision makers, and very efficient and profitable. So it is very gratifying to have the opportunity to work with Zoetis. I've been here since 1998. It's the first time they've asked for a dime from anybody. So the state's taken it seriously, and I presume that we'll take it seriously as well. If you look at the tax rebate amount, it's 3.36% of the project, which is certainly not substantial. And if you look at the state total, it's 7.94%, which is in the expected normal range of incentive on a highly intensive capital investment project. Zoetis has been our most stable employer over time. They have stayed at about the 400 level for many years, and now we're getting the opportunity to add the footprint and add the jobs, and they pay very well. And as you know, Floyd County in the first quarter of 2017 was the third highest manufacturing payroll county, or average weekly wage county in Iowa, and a lot of that is due Zoetis. So I can only say thank you. It's been a great opportunity to work with their team, and hopefully they'll decide to locate in Charles City.
You mentioned job, Tim. How many new jobs?
6.
6.
Other questions or discussion?
But he not-
One comment. Good evening. That's okay. My name is Joe Crispinelli. I'm with EY. We are tax advisors to Zoetis. Just wanted to point out we are meeting Friday morning at 9 a.m. with the state of Iowa. We did notify them of last Friday's recommendation from the TIF committee, which they were delighted about that. So it seems like everything is on track, and we're trying to get to a point, as Steve pointed out, that to a point where Zoetis, their corporate, committees can then make a decision on the investment. So I think we're getting close to that, and we appreciate everyone's support. I just want to point out, too, we work with a lot of different communities, and I have to say both Steve and Tim have really been great to work with on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
I would so move.
Second.
Quick call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 112-17 is approved. As per the amendment, we've omitted F and go straight to G. Consideration of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1110, amending Section 41.14, fireworks to amend and delete certain provisions concerning the sale, transfer, and purchase of consumer fireworks. Discussion.
Basically, what this is an amendment to the ordinance we passed here not too long ago in regard to the fireworks. And Basically, as this has evolved and developed over the last few months, there's been some a court case that found that cities requiring additional permitting and inspection on a city level was above and beyond what is allowed per the code. The state already offers a certificate, a license, I should say, so the cities following up with their own license was seen as above and beyond what was allowed by the law. So effectively, we are removing that requirement for a local license, the fireworks sales.
Further discussion or questions?
And this being the third and final reading, I have not heard any comments or concerns in regard to this either way.
All right, so move for the third reading.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
The third reading is approved, and we'll have the third reading.
Ordinance number 1110, an ordinance amending section 41.14, fireworks, to amend and delete certain provisions concerning the sale, transfer, and purchase of consumer fireworks.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt and publish ordinance 1110?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Ordinance 1110 is adopted and will be published. Consideration of first reading of ordinance 1109, an ordinance amending sections 3, 17, 19, and 18 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Charles City, Iowa, 2015, by adding a definition for consumer fireworks and by adding the sale of consumer fireworks as a principal permitted use of in B-4 Highway Service Business District and M-2 General Manufacturing District, and as a special use in M-1 Light Manufacturing District and B-2 General Business District. Do we have recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Yes, we do. Yes.
And what are they?
Well, the Planning and Zoning Commission, they met tonight. They initially at their September 25th meeting, they reviewed the ordinance, and they set tonight for a public hearing. They held the hearing tonight, and they made a unanimous recommendation, 5-0, for the council to approve this ordinance change. And let me just add that this actually started as Ordinance 1106. While we were doing the ordinance process, it came to our attention that items we had initially had just restricted as a permitted use in the B4 and M2 as a special use in the B3, but there were areas in town that it would be appropriate and for in the B2 district for sales. So we've added, Ordinance 1106, that was discontinued. Brad has written Ordinance 1109, which now states that it'd be a permitted activity in a B4 and an M2, and a special use in a B2 and M1 districts. By allowing it as a special use in a B2, it automatically allows it as a special use in the B3. So with the Planning and Zoning's recommendation, I would recommend the council hold the first reading of Ordinance 1109.
Further discussion?
Isn't some of this a little bit of a result of kind of this whole process going through the state and some case law and things like that in some of the other communities, and kind of trying to bring our ordinance kind of into line with what is appearing to be more normal for the rest of the state? Is that, Brad, is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, part of it is that.
some cities have restricted really to just manufacturing areas. A part of it is also, as John pointed out, we had a couple stores located in B2 district. Was one Kmart or Tyson's
Yeah.
that had sold fireworks, and our ordinance would have prohibited that, where we thought it was appropriate for them to sell in accordance with state laws. So I'd say it was a combination of just reviewing what other cities were doing, and then again looking at potential businesses in our area that might want to sell fireworks.
What works here?
Well, and some of the problems across the state, as Delaney was was referencing there, and as Brad well said, a lot of the lawsuits have been brought because some communities are restricting sales to where there's almost no marketability to where they're being sold. And I think with ours, we're being pretty much as open as we can be. There's minimal restrictions, so sales we're allowing them. So per state rules.
Further discussion?
And since we've gone down this path, I have had some informal discussion requests from a business that would be in a B2 area about the ability to be able to sell fireworks. So it's a good thing we're going back to consider this. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a possibility. So.
Well, especially as well as Tyson's cooperated with our, having a signage out there, mentioning that you still can't shoot off, and for us to potentially accidentally restrict them would kind of hurt a little bit. So.
I would so move for ordinance number 1109.
I would second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager. Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
The first reading is approved. We'll have the first reading.
Ordinance number 1109, an ordinance amending sections 3, 17, 19, and 18 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Charles City, Iowa, 2005 by adding a definition for consumer fireworks and by adding the sale of consumer fireworks as a principal permitted use in B-4 Highway Service Business District and M-2 General Manufacturing District, and as a special use in M-1 Light Manufacturing District and B-2 General Business District.
Thank you. Consideration of Resolution 114-17 setting public hearing on Ordinance 1109. Discussion.
Well, since this is a change to the zoning ordinance, the City Council has to hold a public hearing on this ordinance change, so I'd recommend approval of Resolution 114-17 setting Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m. as the date and time for the public hearing on this ordinance change.
Discussion.
So move.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
The hearing is set on Ordinance 1109. Consideration of second reading on Ordinance 1111, adopting new Chapter 52 of the Charles City Code of Ordinances, providing for procedures for abating and remedying unlawful activities that repeatedly occur in properties. Discussion.
Yeah, this basically is what we've been working on here for the last several months, which is commonly known as our repeat nuisance ordinance. And what this is it's designed to allow for a process that would allow the city to help abate unlawful acts that occur on a repeated basis at properties where law enforcement is called in. The whole idea of this ordinance is to help really facilitate that and create that communication link between the police department and property owners and landlords, so that we can work collectively towards mitigation and eliminating these problems where the police are routinely called to the property. It's designed for single-family duplex or apartments. It covers basically all properties in town. It would require communication between the property owner and the police once 2 reports of chronic nuisance have been received and the police have been called out. If that happens, if there's 2 calls within a 12-month period, we start that communication with the property owner. Once the 3rd instance has occurred, a formal abatement plan is to be developed by the property owner and needs to be completed and submitted to the chief of police. And ultimately, if the abatement is not achieved and the attempts to work with property owners are unsuccessful, there is a fine provision that comes into play that will be applied to the landlord or the property owner. We did make a change before the first reading. Nothing has changed since that first reading, but basically we added in that the ordinance, wherever it says that it applies to the police chief, we added the police chief or their designee, so we put that flexibility in. But otherwise, like I said, nothing has changed since our first reading, October 2nd. So this would be the second reading of the ordinance, and we recommend and approve the second reading.
Further discussion or questions?
Has anyone received any comments about this since the first reading, or?
The only comments I've generally received, I've received a couple that are supportive, that we're looking to try and do something to help, around town to address issues where the police department have to go on a repeated basis. So I've heard some comments to support what we're doing.
I've had visits from 2 landlords, both of which have multiple units in town. One extremely supportive, saying they deal with this in other communities. They have rentals, not an issue. The other one initially had taken issue with it through how it was written in the paper, potentially, that this was an attack on the landlords. And once I had a chance to sit him down to actually show him the ordinance, he goes, "Oh, well, that doesn't sound bad at all." So.
Other questions or discussion?
Also move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Have the second reading, please.
Ordinance number 1111, an ordinance adopting new Chapter 52 of the Charles City Code of Ordinance, providing for procedures for abating and remedying unlawful activities that repeatedly occur at a property.
Thank you. Consideration of first reading of ordinance 1112, amending section 20 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Charles City, Iowa by amending provisions relating to accessory structures located in the floodplain and by incorporating new terms into the definitions of the section. Recommendations from planning and zoning.
Yes. Since the city is an active participant in the National Flood Insurance Program, and the DNR has granted permitting authority to us, we have to have zoning requirements for the 100-year floodplain. Now, these requirements are in Chapter 20 of the zoning ordinance, and they mirror the state regulations that the DNR enforces. Now, recently the DNR, they informed us that there have been changes to the state regulations, and we have to make those changes to our city ordinance. Basically, the change in this in their regulations have to do with accessory structures. Now, previously, accessory structures, and those are like garages, sheds, your smaller buildings, were exempt from elevation requirements. They didn't have to be set above the base flood elevation, but now any accessory structure larger than 600 square feet, they have to meet the base flood elevation. They have to be set at 1 foot above the base flood elevation. There are also some changes to definitions, as well as the old National Geodetic Vertical Datum reference has been replaced with the newer National American Vertical Datum. Now, the Planning and Zoning, they did meet September 25th. They reviewed these changes, and they also held a public hearing tonight, and they are unanimously recommending the City Council approve this ordinance. So I'd recommend the City Council hold the first reading of this ordinance.
Further discussion?
Are there numerous structures around Charles City that would be affected by this? I mean, we've eliminated a lot of structures in general.
Yeah, this actually has to do with any new structures.
Oh, new structures, so excuse me.
Any existing structures or...
Excuse me, yeah, sorry about that.
Are existing, this would just have to do with new construction.
Which should be common sense, I guess. Makes sense.
And this is really only for buildings that are between 600 square feet and 1,000 square feet.
Correct, because under our zoning, we can't have anything greater, accessory structures have to be less than 1,000 square feet.
Right, so it's only new structures between 600 and 1,000 square feet that would be located in a floodplain.
Exactly, yes.
Further discussion or questions?
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
The first reading is approved. We have the first reading.
Ordinance number 1112, an ordinance amending section 20 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Charles City, Iowa by amending provisions relating to accessory structures located in the floodplain and by incorporating new terms into the definitions of the section.
Thank you. Consideration of Resolution 115-17, setting public hearing on Ordinance 1112. Discussion.
Well, again, this is a change to the zoning ordinance, so the city council has to hold a public hearing on this. So I'd recommend approval of Resolution 115-17, setting Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m. as the date and time for the public hearing on this ordinance change.
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll have the public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 116-17, approving no parking section on North Grand. Discussion.
Well, this area is on North Grand on the east side. It's between the driveways, the one driveway going into Farmers Feed and Grain's Way Station, the driveway into RM Granite and Company. This is north of the Canadian National Railroad tracks. Actually, right now there's an there's a small area that allows for one car to be parked on the street there. But recently, on multiple occasions, the police have been called with, there's actually two cars try to park there, and this blocks the driveways, and particularly it blocks the driveway for trucks going in and out of the way station at Farmers Feed and Grain. Now, the creation of this no parking zone, it would only eliminate one on-street parking space, but it would enhance the pedestrian vehicular safety of this area. So we are recommending that a no parking zone be created on the east side of North Grand Avenue from the center line of the Canadian National Railroad tracks 75 feet north. The traffic code provides for establishment of no parking zones by council resolution, so I'd recommend approval of Resolution 116-17 establishing this no parking zone.
Discussion.
So without this, there's potential inability to access Farmers Feed and Grain. With this, we're freeing up the section that really should be freed up anyway, just for safety concerns in general.
Yes.
I would so move, Your Honor.
Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 116-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 117-17 approving contract with CAM Excavation for 2017 lime residual removal project. Discussion.
Well, as we've talked before, the city's water treatment plant, we use lime as a way to soften the raw water. And once the water's been softened, the lime is then pumped out to a lime lagoon. The lime lagoons are located on 19th Street in Kellogg. And actually, since the water plant was put into operation, these lagoons have not been cleaned out, and there's now an issue with capacity, and we need to start cleaning these out. We've worked with the Iowa Department of Agriculture, and actually the city's lime lagoon has now been issued an agricultural limestone quarry license, and the material has been tested by the Department of Agriculture through the Agronomy Department of Iowa State, and it is considered egg lime. Also, we've worked with the City of Cedar Rapids. The City of Cedar Rapids also has a lime softening plant, and they provided us with, they've been doing this for a number of years, and they provided us with their bidding documents, and we put together a project to clean out the lime lagoon using their requirements. And we opened quotes on September 1st, and we actually received 7 quotes. CAM Excavating, they were the low quote at $79,100, and the high quote went up to $233,200. That's quite a range, from $79,000 to $233,000. But when you look at the quotes I have listed there, actually they're kind of grouped together. There's 2 on the low side, one at $79,000 and one at $88,000. Then there's 3 in the middle at $135,000 and 2 at $145,000. Then there's 2 on the upper end at $230,000 and $233,000. So even though there's quite a spread, we still consider that the bid from CAM Excavating a good bid. They're at $79,000. Of course, we've worked with CAM on numerous occasions, and Doug is local, and he has a lot of contacts with area farmers to be able to use this egg lime. So the work is budgeted in the Water Department's budget, and this project will remove 9,000 tons of this lime material, creating more space in our lime lagoons. So I recommend approval of Resolution 117, approving the contract with CAM Excavating for the lime residual removal project.
And if I can just add to John's comments briefly, John did quite a bit of research and quite a bit of work on this, and as he mentioned, the city obtained a license to have our lime material designated as ag lime, and in talking with the Iowa Department of Ag and with other water utility plant managers, it's our understanding that basically that means that it's not deemed a solid waste, and it's not subject to some of the same requirements that it would be subject to under DNR regulations if it was a solid waste. So this is also, as John mentioned, how Cedar Rapids handles their disposal. We did also meet with CAM Excavating and kind of went over the rules and regulations with them, and I think we'll work closely with him and document where the lime is being taken to and how it's being applied, and just ensure that, and attempt to ensure that all the, like I said, all the regulations are being followed. We had lengthy conversations with the Iowa Department of Agriculture and said, here's how we're handling it. Are there is there anything else we should be aware of? Are there any other concerns we should be aware of? And we feel comfortable moving forward, I guess, using CAM as a contractor, and again, having a referral at Iowa Department of Ag that we intend to work with to ensure that we're in compliance moving forward.
Good. When John mentioned that this was the first time they'd been cleaned out, I was kind of doubting that, but what we talked about a year and a half ago was another process. We thought someone else was going to take some of this lime, but that all kind of unraveled and fell apart the further we got into it.
Exactly.
From what I remember, so that never actually happened. So.
Right, so nothing was ever cleaned out at that time.
No.
Just a matter for the record, John, when you started out, you said located at 19th Street and Kellogg. It's 19th Avenue and Kellogg, I believe.
Yeah.
Just so we have the record on it.
Thanks.
I would so move, Your Honor.
Second.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 117-17 is approved. Miscellaneous correspondence.
None, Your Honor.
City Attorney's report.
None, Your Honor.
City Clerk's report.
October 23rd, we will be having a planning session to be followed by a special meeting. The planning session will start at 6, and then the special meeting will convene as soon as the planning session adjourns.
Really? You're going to hold it in that order?
Yes, I am, because I think we wanted to discuss some stuff first. Do I have that wrong? Do I have that in the wrong order, or is that
No, that's
okay?
correct.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually we do it opposite, but this is basing on that discussion, so.
City Administrator's report.
We had our initial kickoff meeting for our wastewater treatment plant project today. So we have Fox Engineering and their subcontractors for mechanical, electrical, and structural engineers. So we started work through that process. And so we're hoping to have a preliminary plan in place here by the end of November into December, and be working on final plans up to the spring to bid that project out. So, other than that, just to let you know, I won't be at the workshop and special meeting on Monday. I'll be at my annual conference for ICMA this year, so I'll be in San Antonio for a couple days, including that Monday. So that's all I have.
Okay. Board, Commissioner, Committee reports. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would so move, Your Honor.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned.
Laid up that one this time. Give him a chance at it.
Yeah. I think everybody had a real bad case of not wanting to say anything tonight.
I think
It's like, God, how long do you got to sit for somebody to make a motion?
They
It's like-
bought us. You should see.